We got some good news and we got some bad news. Though I will say we do have more good news on today's show than we do bad. If you don't know who I am, my name is Mitchell Renz. I'm host of the Raiders Report. And whether it's good, whether it's bad, if you're looking for Raiders news every single day, I hope that you hit that subscribe button because that's what we do here. 100% free. Watch the show. If you don't enjoy the content that we provide after a week, I'll just say unsubscribe. You got absolutely, positively nothing to lose. Now, I am recording this video on Tuesday while I am live, so I just want to put that out there. And you guys are going to get this video. And if you haven't already seen, Jackson Powers-Johnson is officially headed to IR. What that means is he is out a minimum of 4 weeks. And if I had to guess, he's probably going to be done for the season unless the Raiders go on some sort of a run late in the season. And, dude, fingers crossed, man. 10-7. Where the hell can I sign up for that? I do some weird-ass shit for the Raiders to be 10-7. I'm not going to lie to you. But this offensive line, y'all, is it's going to give me nightmares. And this is what I would guess potentially is the Raiders' offensive line. Now, there still is no update at the time that I'm recording this video on Dylan Parham, but a friendly reminder, I did make a video on Monday, and I had a source tell me that Dylan Parham is dealing with an ankle injury and probably is going to be out a few weeks. Maybe that ends up happening. Maybe, we get some better information tomorrow once the injury report comes out. But the real bad news is Alex Kappa. And Alex Kappa might be the Raiders' starting right guard up against the Dallas Cowboys team that's got a lot of extra new faces on the defensive side of the football, which is never, ever a good thing. I also am the type of person where I want to listen to my wife as much as humanly possible, and she always tells me, Mitch, hit me with the bad news before you're going to hit me with the good news. So before we get into the good news on today's show, I just want y'all to show JPJ some love. And he's been seeing it. His family's been seeing it. And the outstanding remarks around Jackson Powers-Johnson have all been really good. And I think that it's important because you and I know that this coaching staff has treated JPJ kind of in a weird way. And when you have an injury like this, my number one thing that I was worried about was crap, does JPJ think about, or is he worried about, this organization potentially moving on from him next offseason after suffering this injury? From what I understand right now, JPJ is actually in good spirits, and he feels the love. He posted on his Instagram story when he announced that he was going to be headed to the IR. He had posted a picture on IG where he's got Max Crosby. He's got his arms up like this. They're taking him off the field. And even though he was not carted off the field, once he got to the sidelines, they ended up, unfortunately, having to bring out that cart. Took him out to the locker room. The rest is history. But JPJ feels your love. And I'll also say this. His mom posted this on social media. And, again, shout out to the JPJ family. Shout out to Mama Powers-Johnson. I get by with a little help from my friends, the Beatles. Thank you, Raider Nation. The outpouring of love has been heartwarming and overwhelming. Attacking recovery. We love you as big as love is. Raider Nation for life, Raiders. And all I'll say is this. I want us, Raider fans, to just keep showing love to JPJ, to keep showing love to him because I want him to be the center next season. I want him to remain a focal point on this interior offensive line. And I don't want him to think that we don't want him back. Because what I am concerned about, and I'm going to continuously be concerned about it, is that this organization might try to move on from him for next offseason. Let's go to the next reason here of why I think that there's some good news today. The Raiders didn't sign an offensive lineman. If you would have told me that JPJ hit an IR, what's a move that I think that this organization can make, I would have guessed that they either would have promoted an interior offensive lineman, they would have gone out and signed an offensive lineman, but instead, the Raiders went out and they signed a player on the defensive side of the football, and I'm happy that they didn't sign anybody on the O-line because that tells me this. Now, sure, they could roll with Kappa, and sure, they could roll with Will Putnam, but not signing an offensive lineman gives me extra hope that Caleb Rogers might actually be active this Monday against the Cowboys, and Caleb Rogers, who we drafted in the third round, might actually get some playing time, which I think would be really good for us overall as a team. I would rather see what Caleb Rogers and Charles Grant have than Alex Kappa and Will Putnam, and it's not close. Where I also think, I'm not saying that Charles Grant's going to play guard. What the Raiders could do, though, is you could put Charles Grant at left tackle. You could put him at right tackle. You might be able to kick Stone Forsythe over to right tackle, kick DJ Glaze into right guard if you want to keep Charles Grant over there. The fact that you didn't sign an offensive lineman when JPJ hit IR, I hope Charles Grant and Caleb Rogers could see the field on Monday night. Let's go to other good news here. The Raiders went out and they signed linebacker, former first-round pick from Kentucky, Jamin Davis. Now, I will admit, I was very off on Davis. This was a player that I liked a lot coming out of college because he was a really, really good athlete. And he ended up getting promoted from the practice squad to the active 53-man roster today. He's played in 54 games, started in 36. Now, he hasn't started since 2023, but to me, I know that some of y'all might not know who Jamin Davis is. Mitch, why is this good news? It's not so much good news about the signing of Davis. Like, to me, Jamin Davis probably ain't going to make any difference on this team. And I don't think that a lot of y'all thought that he was going to. But to me, when you make a move and you lose JPJ, and the move that you make as a linebacker, that makes me think, do they plan on using that linebacker? Because Davis is a good athlete. And I think that he's going to help us on special teams. At least I hope, for the love of God, out there, that he helps us on special teams. And that's actually how I think he's going to make the biggest impact on this squad. But I do wonder, could he play a Jamal Adams role? Because Jamal Adams was a player that was considered gone, toasted, not good anymore. They converted him to a linebacker, and because he brings that fire, he brings that energy, he's able to play a solid role. I almost wonder if the Raiders would decide to use somebody along the lines of a Jamin Davis in a Jamal Adams role, and you play Devin White a little bit less. Now, I will say the depth chart there has not been updated because, Davis is on the team, and then Brennan Jackson is no longer on the squad. But overall, I do think by the Raiders going out and getting a guy like Jamin, does that help you decide to play Devin White less? If I were the Raiders, in all honesty, how I would try to use them, I would try to use Jamin Davis as a potential pass rusher because he's athletic enough. I would use Devin White, honestly, a little bit more as a pass rusher, because if you want to keep on using Devin, you got to stop playing him so much at linebacker. And what I'm hoping honestly happens is Jamin plays more special teams. Jamal Adams gets more opportunities at linebacker. Devin White gets less linebacker snaps and maybe more pass rush snaps to take over for Malcolm Koonce. That, to me, is what I am hoping the Jamin Davis signing is. But that logic right there that I just walked through is the exact same reason why the Raiders should honestly consider hiring me, because I know this team better than the way that this Raiders team is coached. Coming up next here, though, we got more good news around the silver and black, and we're going to get into all of that here in just a moment. Before we do, though, if you don't know, I'm always going to show love to our sponsors, and especially when they're America's #1 fantasy sports app out there. And the hard-hitting football action is even better with PrizePicks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right never gets old. So keep the season rolling on PrizePicks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. On PrizePicks, how you play is up to you. If you want flexibility, choose a flex play. If you want a power play, you can go with a power play. And on Monday Night Football, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Now, if you want to roll with my Monday Night Football lineup, Raiders, Cowboys, download the PrizePicks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Now, I'm hoping I'm right. I'm also kind of hoping I'm not right, because my wife's a Cowboys fan, and even though I love putting money in my pocket, I'd be much, much happier as an individual if Genty gave me more, if Brock gave me more, if Geno gave me more, and if Pickens gave me less. But you know what? I'm going to think with my head today and not my heart, and that's exactly why I'm rolling with that lineup. Let's go to the last good news bit here. The Raiders signed Greg Joseph to the practice squad, and I'm happy the Raiders did it because they could do it, and they could have signed a kicker to the practice squad, and I'm happy that they did it because he's got a career 82.2% kicking percentage. In the 6 games that he played in last season, he was 13-16. Actually, all 3 of the field goals that he missed were from 40 yards, between 40 to 49 yards. He was 4-7. He was 1 for 1 from 50. On the extra points, 3 for 3. Again, I'm not going to sit up here and go, man, I am super excited that the Raiders went out and got Greg Joseph. What I'm more excited about is what it means. And to me, it means extra competition for Daniel Carlson. It means that we are actually putting words that we say as coaches into use. Because Pete, he challenged a few people with some comments that he made after Thursday Night Football about mistakes being made by young players. And, if you keep making those mistakes, you're going to get moved on from. Daniel Carlson's in the final year of his contract, and he has not been good this season. He's 75% from field goal range. I'm not saying that Daniel Carlson has cost us 3 games. What I will say is that our special teams unit absolutely has cost us 3 games. You look at the blocked field goal on Chicago. That wasn't on Daniel, and that's probably the only one that wasn't on Daniel. The missed extra point against Jacksonville, I could say that was the reason why we lost that game. The missed field goal, the 48-yarder this past week against Denver, that could have been a reason why Daniel needs to hit that one. I just am a big fan of when a coaching staff says they're going to do something and they back it up. The going out and getting Greg Joseph is you saying something and backing it up, which is what I respect, Pete. So Greg Joseph addition. Do you think that it's good competition for Carlson? Because again, I'm not going to sit up here and say I love the Greg Joseph signing. The Greg Joseph signing is good competition for Daniel Carlson because our kicking unit, our special teams unit, it just needs to be better. If you agree with that statement, give me an A, you can agree. If you disagree with it, type D. If you got ADHD, then type ADHD down below if I already lost you. But seriously, though, we are going to be live Monday Night Football, and I'm going to keep saying it over and over and over and over again. It's a big game for me. It's a big game for Chugs. I hope that you guys pull up. Our wives are Cowboys fans. We live down here in Dallas, and you know what? Some more Cowboys news literally just rolling in here from Adam Schefter. Cowboys officially activated the Marvian Overshown and defensive back Siobhan Revel. So Siobhan Revel was somebody that I love. Remember the long, lanky corner out of ECU? I said that could have been a Pete Carroll guy. Also, Overshown from Texas just gives them more help than being able to get after the quarterback. On top of adding Quinnen Williams, this is going to look like a very, very different Dallas Cowboys defense. What do you say? Logan Wilson also is the player they went out and got. You're talking about 4 new starters on a defense up against our interior offensive line. Of course it scares me. But I've also seen this team lose a game 3-0 and 3 days later beat the Chargers 61-23. So you never know what could end up happening. What I do know is this. I'm going to be going up against the Cowboys Report. I'm going to be going up against Tom Downey, and I hope that you rock with us because even if we lose on the field, I don't want to lose on YouTube.